Okay, welcome to Design 300. It's our lecture for Thursday, November 18th. We're on Google Meet right now, and the recording is on. And so this week, as you know, we're looking at sustainability analysis. I've given you a large, not really a large, but a substantial amount of information that you can review in the YouTube playlist. And you'll be doing some work on your submittal template to show that you've accessed that and gone through it. But in particular, I thought today that I would look at your discussion posting, because this is where you can practice actually making an analysis. And so I want to start with last week's analysis, and you can see that building energy calculations for eQuest and Revit, we're asked to do a comparison. And Mark did a very nice one. He used the Venn diagram method of doing a comparison, where you see on eQuest over here, you see a bunch of items that are included in eQuest, and in Revit, a bunch of information. And then where they were the same. So these ones are in Revit but not in eQuest. These ones are in eQuest but not in Revit, but here they are in both. And it's a very simple, easy to see comparison. So this was very nicely done, and I can suggest that you do it. And you can see then there was what Mark talks about down below. You've got a better idea, rather than going, okay, I have to visualize somehow what all of this means. That's what we do when we read. We somehow make it real for ourselves, and usually in our own minds we create some sort of visualization to help us understand what that's all about. Sometimes it's sort of in the background of our brain, but that's how we do it. And this is a really nice way of working it. So what I thought I would do is show you how you might be able to do that. And I'm not going to do it for you because that's your assignment. But I want to show you how you might set it up. So here, I've made a Google slide. I think they're pretty easy to work with. And I made a circle, shape, circle. And you can type inside of it. And shaped circle. And then I made a third circle kind of sitting on top. Okay, kind of where things show up there. So that's not too bad. It's kind of in the middle. And on this one, I've set it to make all of my stuff over on the right. And on this one, on the right for this one, right justified, and on this one, left justified. And these ones I'll put in the middle. Okay, so I can say, oh, what do I know about concrete? And what do I know about measures of sustainability? And if concrete happens to meet that measure, I'll put it in the middle. So you might talk about the materials, aggregate, cement, water. And over here, we might talk of, let me do this. I'll make these ones, I'll make those underlined. Do that. And so over here, recyclable is one measure. Recyclable, and maybe I should spell it right. So there's recyclable, can be renewed or grown. And it's not fitting there. There we go. Renewed, can be grown. Or another measure is unlimited supply. Now That doesn't really exist anywhere, but sometimes we think of it as it does. So those are some of the measures of of that. We also have life cycle analysis, low carbon footprint. So those would be some measures. And then over here, you could say, oh, well, let's see, under sustainable concrete, certainly the aggregate is recyclable. I'm not spelling very well at all. And there we go. And there's some formatting always to do. And these you might want to make smaller. Oh, it's doing everything that size. Well, that's okay. You can play around with that if you want. So there's one of the materials. Aggregate is recyclable. But maybe some other things are not so good. So that's how you can go ahead and do a really nice visual. And then when you're either talking about it on a video or writing it down, you can just clearly identify, right? You can say from the image above, you can see that some of the materials are sustainable and some are not, because some are recyclable and some are not because they have a high carbon footprint. So you can use this to really focus yourself and put it together. And it's a tool and a methodology that you should learn to use, particularly when you're doing a design analysis. And you're always going to do that. Okay. Once you've got a design done, you always have to analyze it for something. How well does it meet the client's needs? Is it sustainable? Is it cost effective? Is it energy effective? Does it meet the standard? You always have to analyze, and that's really a big portion of this class is learning the tools to analyze. And one of the best tools, as we know, are specifications. And so I'll go over it again. If you've had a hard time with that portion of it, reading the specifications, reading the information, reading all that material, and gleaning the good information that you can write down quickly, they have a program at American River College called RAD, Reading Across Disciplines, and you can sign up for those and just get some good reading information. And this is one of the tools that they use. They use Venn diagrams. They use other annotation tools as you're reading to get good at it. But I love Venn diagrams. So I can suggest, and they're very easy to work with. There are other tools that are easier. You can go online and find Venn diagram tools that are easier to work with than Google Slides. But these, everybody can read them, and they're really easy to import and take pictures of, and they do okay. Another thing that you might want to do, though, is this one. These are the non-sustainable ones. So maybe you'd like to make those ones red. Maybe these ones are yellow, because those are the measures. And these are the ones where they come together. That's green. And now you have an even more visually pleasing version of it. If you're not happy with how these text features go, you can take them out of here. I'm going to Control X to take them out. and you can put a text box in that's easier to work with. See how now, if you want to, you can change how all of this works, and you can bring these in a little closer and move it up and move it down. You have more control if you put a text box on top of this. Just depends on what you think is the easiest to do. And now, so here maybe you have a little more control. And you can even make this one. Not wanting to go there. Not cool. So you have a little more control when you work with a text box. You could put these in individual text boxes if you wanted. Let's say that's a little bit too much for you there. You can make a new text box. I have to redo my formatting because it wasn't very good there. And so you've got a lot of control over what you're doing when you use this. You can, if you don't want them all in a row, you can even you can put other shapes in there. You can put some call outs in there. Something like that. You can put those all over here. So you get a lot of opportunities to play around with this. And just as a presentation style, you can look at it. I think this is visually pleasing if you're trying to just get out general information to the public and you want to get some wow factor. But overall, I think you will find, let me see if I can, I don't know why I can't get that to delete. There we go. I find that this is more than enough, and that just having this information in here is an easily read, nice format is a little bit easier to work with. Okay, and see, a little bit more professional than bubbles and all that kind of stuff. But some people are much better graphic artists than I am and could probably do that in a really graphically and visually pleasing way. So if you have an idea on that, you can go ahead and do it. So this discussion is really good practice for you to be able to start working with basic analysis tools. And this comparison is an analytical function. It's one way to analyze things. To analyze something, you organize the given material in such a way that it clearly informs a decision. That's what analysis is. It's an organization first, of data second, that informs a specific decision or answer to a question. That's really your basics of analysis. And that's what we're doing here, right? Sustainability analysis. And comparison is one tool. There are weighted groupings or weighted functionality or weighting functions that you could do, where you could say, well, low carbon footprint is more important than can be renewed, right? So you could give some items more weight. You can say, well, that's the most important, and if it even exists, that wins. Or you can say, well, that's twice as important as something else. Now, you don't need to do that in this analysis unless you are into data and into doing analysis, but it's good practice to be able to see these things. Okay, so hopefully that gives you enough information on what we're supposed to do in our week 13 discussion of green buildings. Decide if you think it is sustainable, and then post a short paragraph. So all it says is post a short paragraph. But when I was looking back, I noticed that the most clear, well-written, and easy to understand paragraphs have some sort of visual that goes along with it. So you can think about that. And you'll notice I usually try to put some sort of a visual along with my descriptions of things if I can possibly do it. Okay, so there we go, and we have a couple of these in here that you can look at. And this is nice because the references are there. That's very, very good. So there. All right. I think that's really. I'll just go over then very briefly what our submittal template looks like for right now. And you might even think of annotated images from your study. So sustainable materials. You might even put a list of a Venn diagram here for things that are sustainable, things that are not sustainable. You could make sort of for annotated images, right? So what are sustainable materials? You could easily put some sort of a shape on here for images of sustainable maybe even put in the definition. And then you can put examples in there. That would be one way to do it, right? Then you can take that off. And from the materials that you've studied, you can put in images and even say why. So I know that, one sustainable material is pressed hay bales. Okay, so compressed hay bales are a good building material. Okay. Maybe you found out about them. How to build a straw bale wall. That's kind of wow. That's kind of cool. There's also pressed earth walls and all sorts of other things. So maybe you put something in there about it that you found and saw. Okay, so this would be a way. Also, and maybe you do something very similar to this, right? Materials, sustainability, ones that are sustainable. you could put them right in here. So here's a list, a whole list of things that are not sustainable. Here's a list of things that are, but you could do these visually with images rather than just words. Okay, so there's a bunch of cool stuff that you can do on here that's in line with this. It's giving you practice at another presentation style of supporting evidence that you have read and understood the material, and in this case that you've watched, right? All right, so there we go. That's actually our work for today. I think everybody is doing some nice work. The presentations that you've been doing are very nice so far. Just keep up the good work, and I'll look forward to seeing what you all end up posting on your sustainability analysis.